Okay, so today I'm going to be talking about how the English language and the Moroccan education system has become more prevalent and how that's shifted the culture dynamic. So, where is Morocco located? Morocco is right next to, it begins at the tip of Spain, and here I've circled it in blue. And so it's quite a big part of this continent here. Um, so we'll be looking a bit more into the schooling systems in Morocco. So, influences of speaking English in Morocco. Um, Definitely in recent years, social media apps and technology like Instagram, Facebook, Pinterest, you name it, TikTok, Snapchat, they've all contributed to more kids in Morocco using technology. Um, and also, it's become quite common in secondary education in Morocco for um, professionalism after college. Um, uh, a lot of colleges want it to be required so that it can be kind of a universal language that's implemented into their curriculum. Um, and like I said, jobs and professions. The most spoken language around the world is English. And so if young adults in Morocco are looking for a job, um, oftentimes, they might go outside of Morocco to find a job. So a lot of jobs do require um, knowing English to um, um, be qualified for those jobs. And so I have a quote here from Morocco World News. Um, it was an article that I read for my contextual analysis. And it says, however, while many young Moroccans come into contact with French at school, English is often more the language of movies, series, and music. Dubbed the Netflix generation, youth in Morocco are increasingly discovering and developing their English language knowledge because of its prevalence in the media and on the internet. So, like I said, it's definitely grown up with recent generations. You know, everyone wants to be a part of the next big show, the next big movie series, you know, um, and what better way to do that than using technology? And oftentimes, a lot of younger kids and adults share things with each other, or they, like in the picture on this slide, um, they interact through social media and technology. So, teaching English in Morocco. So, English in Moroccan schools, faculty members realize how impactful the English language has become in young Moroccan lives and the need for it to be more embedded into their education systems. So, like I said, more kids at home are involving themselves in technology and communicating with their friends through technology, and many teachers are realizing that they can use this to their advantage to help teach kids at school. So this uses language as a tool to build and grow communities to be more diverse. It helps with communication. It helps kids create bonds and relationships, and it helps to share commonalities among younger kids and anyone really. Language is a universal tool for sure. And it's super important for college students when finding jobs. Like I said before, many jobs are looking for people who have English as a language that they know, because it's just used so much and in so many places. And a handful of different languages are being used, creating unclear and confusing language policies. So there is several languages that are being used in Moroccan schools, and I'm sure this isn't just in Morocco specifically, but it could be in several other places. But it's creating an unclear and very confusing system where students and staff are unsure which languages they should be using, and if there's any language policies that they should be following. And so conflicting views on main language in schools, as I just mentioned. Changes in language. So in a journal entry called Reframing Language Roles in Moroccan Higher Education, Context and Implications of the Advent of English by Yamina El Alama El Karate and Bahar Youssef, they mention the inevitable power English has acquired seems to undermine the value of French and Arabic, which were the prime means of instruction in the Moroccan education system for decades. The novel changes generated in the outset of the new century indicate that English would enhance its status due to its increasing value in the forthcoming years, at the expense of French, which has apparently become a less attractive choice according to the mainstream views in this study. So this was a recent study done by these two scientists, professors, and even though French was formerly the most highly spoken in Morocco, everyone's tailoring to, okay, what's the new language? It's gonna help increase, tourism profits, accessibility and jobs and stuff like that. So, so they're shifting their gaze on language in Morocco. And connecting to Mukundi Wathango, probably pronounced that wrong, but in his book, Decolonizing the Mind, the attitude to English was the exact opposite. Any achievement in spoken or written English was highly rewarded, prizes, prestige, applause, the ticket to higher realms. English became the measure of intelligence and ability in the arts, the sciences, and all the other branches of learning. So, one of the authors that we looked up was Nyong'o, and we read in his book on Decolonizing the Mind, which is actually his last book written in English, because he felt like he was giving to colonialism in a way that he was giving up his African literature, native tongue, just so people would be able to read his work through English. But he realized that he should still be able to write in his native language so that people can understand where he's coming from. He can represent his culture and his background. So, creating a civil society. Many Moroccans hope that education can be used to create a civil society. In another article that I looked at for my contextual analysis, Brian Selstead, in his journal on designing, implementing, and evaluating a department-wide service learning program for English language learners in Morocco, quotes a text by C.A. Torres that reads, "Despite this tension, there is deep concern in the Arab world about the role of education in forming a civil society. And some scholars are striving to push for the development of the socio-cultural, democratic, and social justice elements of education in addition to, or perhaps in opposition to, education for economic development." So basically, what Selstad is explaining is that yes, there is a concern about like what main language is the language that's being used, and it's hard because not everyone's going to want to be using one language because they use so many different languages, and at the same time their culture and culture and what they grew up with was specifically Arabic and or French. So it's harder for I guess newer generations to realize what the impact of those languages had on those individuals and how the older generation see it as a colonizing, that the English language is a colonizing, I guess, implementation that some people might not agree with. So, newer generations of Moroccans, though, are more open to using English as one of their main languages, as I've mentioned. I think this has to do because this has to deal with because of social media, and I think it's really opened up people's, well, newer generations' views on politics and diversity and exception, I guess. So I would say that definitely has a role in it. And so my final thoughts: language is a big part of our world and how we communicate with each other. And communication helps individuals to understand and engage with other people. It's important to have an understanding and to engage and to have an engaging educational system that accepts all languages and recognize the different languages that people use in communities and different regions. And new languages can shape how we see the world. And we can see this through Thiago's experience that English changes entirely, and he didn't want to lose the languages that were important to him. So, new languages can, like anything, they can be positive or negative. So they can positively impact someone's view on the world, or they can negatively impact. And I think in Thiago's case, he just realized that in order for him to explain his story and explain where he was coming from and his culture, he felt like that if he were to completely be able to do that, then why not be able to do it in his own native tongue? So, yeah. And here is my image links and we're excited. Thank you for watching.